Have you ever noticed how one small update can quietly change everything, but nobody explains what it really means yet, leaving you with more questions than answers? Before we go any further, a quick note. Some of what we'll talk about is official and already voted on, and some ideas are still being discussed and could change. Nothing here is guaranteed, and timelines may shift depending on Congress and the White House, which is important to keep in mind. Now, here's what's getting attention right now. The House of Representatives has passed a bill that would add about $50 million to the Social Security Administration's budget. This money is meant for customer service, not direct payments. That part matters more than it sounds, and I'll explain why in a moment. But there's a pause here. The bill still has to move through the Senate. After that, it would need the president's signature. Until those steps happen, this is not final. It's progress, but it's not the finish line yet, which raises an important question. You might be wondering why lawmakers are talking about funding offices instead of raising monthly checks. That frustration makes sense. Many people already feel stretched thin, and prices for basics keep creeping up. Still, this specific funding is about how Social Security works day to day, which affects people in ways we don't always see right away. Right now, getting help from Social Security can feel exhausting. Phone calls can take hours. Appointments can be months away. Some people are told they must show up in person, even when traveling is difficult or costly. This extra funding is meant to ease those problems by hiring staff and improving service, at least in theory. Whether it actually helps depends on what happens next, and that's where things get complicated. This issue affects a lot of people. Retirees, people with disabilities, widows and widowers, parents caring for children who receive benefits. For many, Social Security isn't extra money. It's rent, it's food, it's medication. When excess breaks down, daily life gets harder fast. That's why recent comments in the House caught attention. One congressman spoke openly about how staffing cuts and office closures may have made service worse instead of better. He pointed out that experienced workers left while demand for help kept growing. Hearing that said out loud mattered to a lot of people. It also raised another concern. Some newer rules push people toward online or in-person service, while offices have fewer workers and fewer open locations. For someone who can't drive far or use a computer easily, that creates a real barrier, which leaves many people stuck. This is where the story connects back to that $50 million bill. Supporters say it could help reverse some of these problems. Critics worry it won't be enough. Both sides agree the system is under strain, which is something most people already feel firsthand. And while all this is happening, there's another question quietly sitting in the background. When exactly is your next payment coming, and what should you do if it doesn't arrive the way it's supposed to? That part matters more than headlines, and we'll get to it next. Now let's slow things down and talk about the one thing most people care about first: the payment itself. Knowing when money arrives can reduce a lot of stress, even before anything else gets fixed. Here's the official schedule for February payments, based on how Social Security already works. These dates are confirmed unless something unusual happens at the system level, which is rare, but still possible. If you started getting Social Security before May of 1997, your payment is scheduled for February 3rd. That group follows a separate rule, and it hasn't changed, which brings a small sense of stability. For everyone else, the payment date depends on your birthday, not the year, just the day of the month you were born, which can feel oddly specific. If you were born between the 1st and the 10th of any month, your payment is scheduled for February 11th. That applies no matter which month your birthday is in, which often surprises people. If your birthday falls between the 11th and the 20th, the scheduled date is February 18th. This group usually lands right in the middle, which sometimes creates confusion when deposits seem late but aren't. If you were born between the 21st and the 31st, the payment is set for February 25th. That's the last wave, and it can feel like the longest wait, especially when bills are due earlier in the month. SSI works differently. Because February 1st falls on a weekend, SSI payments were sent early, on January 30th. That early payment often causes worry, even though it follows standard rules. If you're on SSI and didn't see that deposit, it doesn't automatically mean something went wrong. There are a few steps to take before assuming the worst, which we'll walk through carefully. First, it helps to check with your bank. Many delays come from account issues, holds, or processing times that have nothing to do with Social Security. A quick call can sometimes clear things up faster than waiting on hold elsewhere. If your bank confirms everything looks fine, Social Security usually asks people to wait 3 business days after the scheduled date. That waiting period can feel uncomfortable, but it's part of the official process. After that window, contacting Social Security becomes the next step. The system is slow right now, and that's part of the bigger issue we talked about earlier. Still, following the steps protects you if something truly needs fixing. This is where online tools can help, if you're able to use them. A My Social Security account lets you see payment history and notices without calling. It doesn't solve everything, but it can reduce guesswork. While payments are moving on schedule, there's another topic getting attention behind the scenes. It's about how yearly increases are calculated, and why many people feel the current method misses real-life costs. Some lawmakers are talking about changing that formula. It hasn't passed, it's not guaranteed. But the idea itself explains why people are paying close attention right now. Because if that formula changes, even slightly, it could affect future checks in a way that feels small on paper, but meaningful in daily life. And that brings us to the proposal many people are asking about, and what it could mean if it ever moves forward. Let's talk about that proposal people keep asking about, because it sounds simple on the surface, but it carries a lot of weight once you understand it. Right now, yearly Social Security increases are based on something called CPIW. In plain terms, it tracks spending for people who are still working. Not retirees, not people with disabilities, not people living on fixed incomes. That's where the concern starts. Older adults tend to spend more on healthcare, prescriptions, housing, and basic utilities. Those costs rise differently than gas or work clothes. The current formula doesn't fully reflect that, and many people feel the gap every month. Because of this, some lawmakers are discussing a switch to CPIE. That version is designed to track spending for older adults more closely. It's still a proposal, it has not passed, and it could change or stall. But the discussion itself matters. Analysts suggest that if CPIE were ever adopted, annual benefits might rise more than they do now. Estimates vary. Some say a few $100s per year. Others say it depends on future inflation trends. Nothing is locked in. For someone living on a tight budget, even a small increase can feel meaningful. It might help cover a prescription copay. It might ease a grocery bill. It might reduce the need to choose between 2 essentials. But it's important to be clear. This is not approved law. It's an idea being debated. It could move forward. It could also sit untouched for years. That uncertainty is part of the system, whether we like it or not. At the same time, service problems continue to affect daily life. Office closures, fewer trained workers, more rules that require online or in-person steps. These issues stack up quietly. For someone who can't travel easily, being told to show up in person can feel overwhelming. For someone without reliable internet, online-only steps can feel impossible. These aren't rare situations. They're common. That's why some lawmakers are pushing back publicly. Not just about money, but about access, about dignity, about making sure people can actually use the benefits they earned. Pressure from advocacy groups has also grown. Groups focused on seniors, disabilities, and low-income families continue to raise these concerns. Change is slow, but attention has increased. While that fight continues, people still need practical steps. Knowing what to do when something goes wrong can reduce panic, even when systems feel unresponsive. And that leads to the most important part: what you can realistically do if your payment is missing, delayed, or if you're blocked from getting help. That's where we'll slow down and get very specific next. When something goes wrong with a payment, the hardest part is often not knowing what step to take first. That uncertainty can make a small delay feel much bigger than it is. If your payment doesn't show up on the scheduled date, the first step is simple. Check your bank or card provider. Many issues happen on the banking side, like processing delays or temporary holds. This step alone sometimes resolves the worry. If the bank confirms there's no issue, the next step is waiting the standard 3 business days. Social Security officially asks for this window before they investigate further. It's not ideal, but it protects your record if follow-up is needed. After those 3 days, contacting Social Security becomes appropriate. Calling early in the morning can sometimes reduce wait times. Having your basic information ready can also help move things along, even if the call still takes time. If phone service isn't working, online access may help. A My Social Security account can show notices, payment history, and status updates. It doesn't replace human help, but it can clarify what the system thinks is happening. For people who are told they must appear in person, the situation gets harder. Travel isn't easy for everyone. Cost, health, and mobility all matter. If this applies to you, it's reasonable to explain your limitations and ask about alternatives. Social Security does allow accommodations in some cases. That may involve mail, online steps, or supervisor review. It doesn't always work quickly, but asking calmly and clearly can open options that aren't offered right away. This is where patience and persistence meet. Not pushing aggressively, but not giving up either. It's a balance that many people shouldn't have to manage yet still do. While all of this plays out, broader pressure continues behind the scenes. Funding discussions, staffing debates, formula proposals. None of these fix tomorrow's problem, but they shape the system you deal with later. That's why staying informed matters. Not every headline leads to change. Not every proposal becomes law. But knowing what is confirmed and what is still being discussed helps avoid false hope and unnecessary fear. Near the end of all this, it helps to remember one steady thing. These benefits are earned. They exist because people worked, paid in, and followed the rules over time. That foundation hasn't changed. The system may struggle, service may lag, decisions may move slowly, but payments are still scheduled, and oversight still exists, even when it doesn't feel visible. Before we wrap everything up, there's one final reminder worth holding on to. Not a promise, not a warning, just something steady to keep in mind as updates continue to unfold. That's where we'll finish next. Before we close this out, I want to slow things down for a moment and put everything into perspective, because it's easy to feel overwhelmed when updates keep coming. Some things we talked about are already in motion. Payment schedules are set. February dates are established. Those are part of the normal system, and they continue even when politics feel messy. Other things are still being debated. Extra funding for customer service, staffing fixes, changes to how yearly increases are calculated. These ideas are being discussed, not guaranteed, and they may take time to resolve, if they move at all. That separation matters. Knowing what is confirmed versus what is still proposed helps protect your peace of mind. If you're feeling frustrated, that feeling makes sense. Many people depend on these benefits to stay afloat. When access becomes harder, stress builds quietly and steadily. That's not a personal failure. It's a system issue. At the same time, it's okay to focus on what you can control. Checking your payment dates, monitoring your account, taking calm steps if something doesn't arrive. These actions don't fix everything, but they give you stability in the moment. Staying informed also helps. Not every update means danger. Not every headline means change tomorrow. Often, progress happens slowly, in small pieces that don't feel dramatic, but still matter. One calm reminder before we end. These benefits exist because people earned them over time. That truth doesn't disappear because of delays, debates, or service problems. It remains the foundation underneath everything else. No promises, no urgency, just awareness. As new information comes out, it's okay to pause, verify, and wait before reacting. Clarity usually comes, even if it arrives slower than we'd like. And that's where we'll leave it for now.